You decided to direct your people to create a hazing policy shortly after I took your deposition in this case?
Yes, when you made me aware that that hadn't been updated, I was unaware. I immediately took action.
I made you aware of that in your deposition, that APD didn't have a hazing policy?
We had questions about that in the deposition.
Right, but you weren't aware of that prior to me taking your deposition?
I wasn't aware that they had not completed the policies.
So you exchanged these text messages with George Vega on the 17th, and you deleted all of these text messages with George Vega that same evening, correct?
Yes.
And obviously we don't have any record of what's said on your phone calls, right?
I didn't understand your question.
Did you record your phone calls that you had with George Vega that evening?
Record the phone calls?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Okay. The jury just heard George Vega testify that he also deleted his text messages with you that same evening. I mean, is that just a coincidence, do you think?
No, we have been advised time and time again to ensure that for the efficiency of our department that we delete text messages in a rather continuous operation.
You delete text messages in a rather continuous operation, is that?
Yes, I can explain if you'd like.
Sure, just a moment. Let me write this note down. Well, you said you have been advised. Who advised you to do that?
City clerk and city legal.
City clerk and city legal advised APD to have its people delete their text messages on a regular basis?
Yes.
It seems a little concerning to some of us in the courtroom, I'd imagine.
Objection, counsel's testifying.
Sustained. You can disregard the statement by counsel, okay? Thank you.
When did city legal or the city clerk's office advise members of APD to start deleting their text messages?
In 2018 is the first time, and it appeared not with text messages but with emails. I, in an attempt to be extremely transparent, never had erased an email since my first career. I retired in 2014 when they reactivated my email account in 2017. All my emails from my first career were still in the inbox. There was a series of IPRA requests, as we're all aware, that would come in, and the first IPRA request took the city attorney's office. I think I can't be exact, but it took him an enormous amount of time to filter through all my emails to fulfill the requirement of the IPRA request.
Yeah.
And at that point, they told us what was required to be kept, and my admin was updated as what was required to be kept, and they were asked to clean out my email box. I'm gonna move towards Texas next. So, shortly after that, I began to get IPRA requests for my Texas, and they were very extremely difficult. For example, the day that our 4 officers were shot in the foothills, I got approximately 1,000 text messages that day. I would get IPRA requests that said, we need your text messages from, and I'm just giving you
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
temporary timeframes, June 7th to June 9th. I would have to go back into my phone, and I'd have to go from June 7th forward. And there is no search function in Texas that I'm aware of, or anybody's been able to make me aware of, that could pull out the texts that were being requested. So I'd have to go through every text string, scroll down, look for the dates, and that's when, and screenshot each one, and then email those, text those screenshots to the city clerk's office to fulfill the requirements of the things, of the text. And that's when city legal and city clerk's office gave us the requirements of what we have to save.
And what is that? What do you have to save?
Number one, if we get a court order because of pending litigation.
I'm sorry, what does that
A
mean?
preservation letter.
Okay.
Number one,
What do you have to save after you get a preservation letter?
we have to save everything that is in the preservation letter is requesting.
Okay. What else?
If it's an official order or an official policy that is being ordered to others. So let's say we have an SOP revision and I send it to all my people via text, and that's the only method, then I'd have to preserve the text. The one exception is if there's a final resting place of the information, and that is where the final resting document would be.
Okay.
Other than that, everything is considered just normal everyday communication and is not subject to retention under public records.
But you didn't see any particular reason to save this particular message or these messages from George Vega on August 17th of 2023?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. You didn't see any reason to keep these text messages that you were getting from George Vega that afternoon?
No, I have been instructed that in order to be completely fair, that I am to not keep text messages I may want for my benefit, that I should have a consistency in the deletion of the text messages.
This is your personal device we're talking about, correct?
Yes,
Is your testimony that city legal has advised you, I'm sorry, I can't ask what city legal has advised you, but the city clerk's office has advised you that you should just delete every single personal text message that you ever receive to avoid public records problems?
because of the fact that at times I do get phone calls from the public or I get text messages, and it could be construed that my personal cell phone was being used for work purposes. So as out of an abundance of caution, I follow that process with my personal phone.
So, I mean, my question was, did anyone from the city clerk's office, for instance, advise you that you could not keep personal messages on your cell phone anymore, your personal cell phone? You had to delete them all. Is that what the city clerk's office told you to do? No, don't keep personal text messages anymore?
They didn't get that specific, but they said that my personal phone, because of the fact that sometimes people conducted city business on it, that it would be subject to IPRA.
Is this policy, if I understand it correctly, from the city clerk's office, something that applies just specifically to you or to like everyone within APD?
Well, it should apply to all city employees, that if you're using your personal cell, to me, it should apply to all government entities, that if you use your personal cell phone for work purposes, that it should fall under IPRA requirements.
No, I don't mean like to you or how you perceived it. Like, did the city clerk's office issue this instruction to all City of Albuquerque employees or just to you or somewhere in between?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled.
It has been over a series of times, so we have to look back. There's been other depositions where this has come up.
I'm sorry, can you answer my question, please? Did the city clerk's office direct every City of Albuquerque employee to delete all of their public or personal text messages, or is this specific to you?
I don't know if they did to everybody.
Do you know whether they gave this directive to anyone but you yourself?
I don't know that. You'd have to check with them.
So it's possible you're testifying that the city clerk's office came and said, this is the policy for you, Chief Medina, with respect to the preservation of your personal text messages?
I wish I could tell you that it was one setting that this all occurred in, but I can't. And it's very difficult in order to explain this, but to answer your question, they did come to me and tell me that at one point, but there's more to it.
Did they ever give you anything in writing that specified the parameters of how or when you were to preserve or delete your personal communications?
They may have. There's probably a manual somewhere when they gave us the briefing on IPRA.
When you say us, there was someone other than you that was given this directive from the city clerk's office?
Yes, as a deputy chief, they gave that update from IPRA. They gave it to all of our executive staff.
So it was all of the members of the APD executive staff who got this directive from the city clerk's office that you've been discussing?
Yes.
So the city clerk's office came to you and the other members of the executive staff for the department and said, for you guys, let's, have you delete your personal text messages so we don't, clog up our public records requests?
No, you're intermingling, and I'm unable to answer the question. If I'm able to fully explain it, I can, but otherwise I'm getting cut off and I can't tell you the whole process. It didn't happen in one setting. This is something that has evolved over time.
Right. So, back to my prior question, having not cut you off, did the city clerk's office direct the executive staff of the Albuquerque Police Department, the deputy chiefs, and yourself, let's say, to delete all of their personal text messages so they didn't have to go through them for public records requests?
No. And I have to explain if I'm able to. What we learned and what has evolved over time is if you use your personal phone for work-related purposes, it falls under the same requirements as your work phone and is subject to IPRA. Once you understand that portion, that your private phone is now subject to the same way a public phone is, now you will understand why we treat our private phones the same as our work phones. I am not going to sit here and act like people don't call me on my personal phone.
Right.
They call me on my personal phone. Sometimes it's simply because I didn't answer my work phone.
They text you on your personal phone,
And
too.
I have to, and they have my personal phone also, so I treat both my phones as the same.
Okay. My question is still, what are the parameters of this policy that was conveyed to you by the city clerk's office, right? Who does it apply to? As far as you understand, who within the city was given this directive by the city clerk's office around retaining or not retaining public records?
Objection asked and answered.
You can answer it. I agree with you. You can answer it again if you know, okay?
Can you ask it again?
Do you know who this policy from the city clerk's office applies to? Do you know?
It should apply to all city employees.
I'm not asking who it should apply to. I'm asking if you know who it applies to.
I thought that answered it. It should apply to all city employees.
Does it?
It should.
According to whom?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
Overruled. A little bit longer and then we'll move on, okay?
I'm trying to get an understanding of, if I understand your testimony, you're stating that you delete messages from your personal phone in keeping with some directive from the city clerk's office related to maintenance or retention of public records. Is that accurate?
Yes. Okay.
And there was a difficulty earlier in identifying whether this policy just applies to you or to the APD executive staff or to all employees of the city of Albuquerque. Do you know who this policy applies to?
And I'm saying-
Objection, it misstates the evidence. The earlier question was, do you know who was directed to do this? The next question was, do you know who this policy applies to?
I think that question has been answered. So let's move on to another question. You're welcome to keep asking some questions, but I think that one's been answered by Chief Lee, okay?
You recommend to, quote unquote, all of your people that they get rid of their texts, right?
Yes.
Now, who are your people?
My executive staff, commanders, deputy commanders and above?
Deputy commanders and above. Those are your
Yes.
people.
Yes.
So you don't recommend then to every single law enforcement officer within the Albuquerque Police Department that they delete all of their personal communications, do you?
They should.
They should?
If it doesn't meet the requirements of why they need to keep it.
But you haven't directed them to do that the same way you've directed your people to do that, deputy commanders and above.
I generally will communicate down to deputy commander, sometimes lieutenant, but it is very infrequent that I will directly communicate with ground level people unless it's at a citywide briefing. But you bring up a great point, and I fully see that, you know, it would benefit us to make a clearer policy within it for all of the department to understand, because it's apparent if you're asking it, it's possibly not being done at the lowest levels.
George Vega is a deputy commander or above at this point, correct?
Yes,
So would he be one of your people?
yes.
The academy staff in this case are not deputy commanders or above, if I'm not mistaken. They would not be your people then.
They still are my people. They're my officers.
So when you defined your people earlier as deputy commanders and above, you actually meant all of your officers.
Objection misstates the evidence.
Overruled. You can answer that.
You know, we're playing word semantics at this point, and yes, you asked me if deputy, what my immediate people are, and when I talk about people, my people, I'm thinking of the terminology people that I've appointed to a position. That means it's a mayor-chief appointment. That's deputy commander and above. That's my administration of the leadership of the Albuquerque Police Department. But yes, if we're going to get into the weeds, technically, yes, every employee of the Albuquerque Police Department are my people.
So have you given the directive to all of those people, your people, broad umbrella, to delete their text messages, their personal ones?
No, we should probably do a better job at that.
They should be more diligently instructed to delete all those text messages?
If it doesn't apply to the requirements of what needs to be kept. Like, let's not forget that part. All of it, no matter what we talk about, no matter when we mention deletion, we still have the rules we have to follow.
Who decides in the heat of the deletion that's going on what's a public record and what's not?
Those are the guidelines given to us by the city clerk's office. And that we did have documentation on.
So you're combing through your mound of text messages trying to decide what to delete and what not to delete. Are you peppering the city clerk with requests for clarification as to which things you should keep and which things you should just delete? Or are you making the decision yourself on a day-to-day basis, like you did with the George Vega text, for example?
You make the decision based off the guidelines that were established by the city. My text messages with George were not an official directive. They were not a policy or a procedure. They were nothing that is required to become a public document. They weren't a police report. They weren't, what it was notifying us that something was occurring at the academy. And I explained this during our deposition. At that point, all I did was text Corey Lowe, Mike Smathers, and said, there is an allegation of hazing at the academy. I told him, George is hot, because George was pissed that his son was treated this way. There is an allegation of hazing, and this may not be verbatim, and I need you to look into it. And if he claims that this HR violation occurred, or however I worded it, then we need to look into it. Something to that effect. The final resting point, as I explained earlier, there is a final document on this. That is the blue team entry into the IA system that captures that information and becomes the public record.
So if I understand your testimony correctly, the final resting point of your text messages with George Vega about his allegations that his son had been hazed, the final resting point for those documents was a blue team entry or internal affairs request. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Because, that's how you would trigger an internal affairs investigation, correct?
If the allegations were true.
And so how did the internal affairs investigation into the academy staff turn out in this case?
How did it what?
How did the internal affairs investigation into the academy staff turn out in this case? The internal affairs investigation of the
Like
academy
the
staff?
outcome of the investigation?
Yeah.
Objection, lack of foundation.
Was there an internal affairs investigation of the academy staff in this case?
Yes.
Conducted by internal affairs investigators?
No, it got sent to an outside investigator.
Outside, meaning outside of internal affairs?
Outside the city.
Right.
Independent investigator might be a good way.
And that would be Miss Bannon, correct? Jean Bannon?
Yes, sir.
And she wasn't, you know, her investigation was not authorized with a blue team entry, was it?
I believe the blue team entry is what eventually triggers her investigation. But you have to ask Superintendent Garcia, because he's the expert on the processes and how information flows. But the allegation is there, and the allegation ends up to be the investigation by Jean Bannon.
Which allegation is there when you say that?
The allegation that hazing was occurring at the academy.
That would be George Vega's text message, correct? That was the initial allegation?
Man, George is hot. He claims they forced him to shave his head.
Sorry. Let's talk about that question real quick. You said the allegation is there. That leads to a blue team entry, correct?
Yes, it could. They have to go through a preliminary. So they have to do the preliminary investigation. We have short time frame.
Who's they?
Smathers and Corey. They're the ones I sent this to.
Right. What preliminary investigation do they have to do before the internal affairs investigation can start?
Well, they should at least establish if there's truth to the allegation.
Okay. I guess my question is, have you ever seen or laid eyes on an internal affairs request or blue team entry respect to the allegations against the academy staff? Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, I didn't review the case.
So you haven't seen anything like
No.
that? Do you know whether there ever was an internal affairs investigation into the academy staff?
I mean, the independent investigation took place of the internal affairs. That was the point of it.
But it wasn't the same thing as an internal affairs investigation, was it?
It took place of the internal. We
You use this point of like the final resting place of, you know, the communications that were deleted. You said that would be the blue team entry. And
Yes.
I'm trying to get some clarity as to whether or not there is any such thing, whether those text messages alleging hazing from Commander Vega led to a blue team entry where they had their resting place, or whether they rested nowhere, they disappeared.
Objection calls for speculation, lack of foundation.
Overruled.
They should be in there.
Where? Where
in-
should they be?
Not the text messages. The information from the text messages what should have triggered the blue team entry. The blue team entry, and Superintendent Garcia can explain this much better how it done. This blue team entry would trigger the HR investigation. The allegations should be in the letters that were sent out to the instructors. There's a portion of where is the final document.
So I'm going to move on from this in just a sec, okay? I promise, because I'm sure this is getting exhausting. But blue team entry would be like a little document that says, here's some information about an allegation that we received, correct?
Yes.
So there should be a document somewhere that has a little summary like that that says, an allegation was brought to the attention of the Albuquerque Police Department through an exchange of text messages between George Vega and Harold Medina, something like that.
Something like that.
And it would say, in these text messages, George Vega alleged X, Y, and Z about the situation, right? A little summary of the content of the allegation.
It should be, but it was difficult because I wasn't here and I don't have access to Blue Team to do it from Hawaii. It should be. Corey and Mike Smathers were given the information. I have to be able to rely on them that they are going to get the information and forward it correctly. I'm not here. I'm in Hawaii. That's what made this extremely difficult.
If you hadn't been in Hawaii and had been in Albuquerque, what would the process have been for turning these text messages with George Vega about his son into a blue team entry?
I would have been able to speak to whoever I was having put in the blue team entry on what needed to be put in. And it should have been something to the effect. Chief Medina received a complaint to reference hazing at the academy from George Vega.
So these texts get deleted, right? And it's not like the last message that you exchanged with George Vega said, hey, George, make sure we delete all these so they don't come up in litigation down the road. You didn't say anything like that?
No.
And he didn't say anything like that to you in these text messages?
No.
No. And the jury should take your word on that, correct?
We would probably talk about, we would. Man, I'd have to research back to make sure that we didn't talk about, hey, make sure we delete. Because we always talk about that, but I just don't know if we did. We always talk about, we have a homicide, we're like, hey, bro, case is done, delete. We talk to the fifth floor, hey, incident is over, because we have a big text string, nothing in there, delete.
And I believe Commander Vega, or Deputy Chief Vega, testified to something similar earlier this afternoon, where he said that his practice was, if something was complete and done, that's when he would delete his messages regarding that subject. Is that similar to your practice?
Yes.
So when there's an issue, you're exchanging text messages and you keep them until the issue is resolved. Is that right?
What issue?
Any issue.
Any issue?
Yeah.
Not till it's resolved, till we're done with that exchange for the time being.
Right.
Because an officer involved shooting, it may go months before we get
and
outcome.
You would certainly.
I generally clean them up way before that.
While that situation is going on, you would certainly keep those messages while it was going on, correct?
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't get prolonged into
Sure.
days and days.
But then when it's done, right? When it's resolved, that's when you delete your messages, right?
Yeah, at some point. And there is just a time that messages will get deleted just because I'm getting through and I'm going up and cleaning them and don't see anything that's a requirement to keep.
So by the end of the evening on August 17th, you believed that, you would resolve this situation based on your conversation with George Vega.
No, I just went through my process of deleting texts like I do, and Corey and them had been told about the allegations. There was nothing that needed to be preserved anymore.
You would, if it was still an ongoing situation, you just testified you keep the text messages, correct?
No, I said that there are times if it gets prolonged over days that I'll still delete.
Over days? If it gets prolonged over days, you delete them anyway?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to show you what we've admitted into evidence as Exhibit 11. You don't need to read it out loud. But these are some, do you recognize this message here?
Yes.
And these are the texts. This is one of the text messages that you sent to Deputy Chief Smathers and Deputy Chief Lowe on the evening of the 17th, correct?
Yes.
This is after Commander Vega brought the allegations of hazing to your attention.
Yes.
So, you tell Deputy Chief Smathers and Deputy Chief Lowe in these texts that George is angry, correct?
Yes, George is hot.
You meant angry, I'm assuming?
Yes.
You also have the exhibits in that binder in front of you if you'd like to use them, if it's a little easier.
Okay.
This will be tab 11.
Okay, go ahead. I got it.
Yeah, so you told Deputy Chief Smathers, Deputy Chief Lowe, George is angry, is that right?
Yes.
And told them that the staff had made Josh Vega shave his head in front of the cadet class also,
Yes,
and they said they hadn't heard anything about that, right? Like that was new information to them.
where I went on to other parts, and then it looks like they said understood and we will look into things. Have never heard of this.
Right. That would be on the next page of the exhibit, correct? That's where Deputy Chief Smathers tells you he's never heard of this incident. Are we looking at the same thing there?
Yeah, they said they hadn't heard that we were degrading cadets and forcing them to shave their heads.
They hadn't heard anything about the head shaving incident in the gym, they told you. Is that right?
That's what, I mean, you see the text, understood and I will look into things, have never heard this.
And Deputy Chief Lowe also told you that this was the first she had heard of shaving in front of everyone, correct?
Yes.
Next page there. That was her reaction, just to tell you that, oh, this is the first time I've heard of this. My question is, did the reactions of Deputy Chief Smathers and Deputy Chief Lowe seem credible to you in the moment? Were you surprised that something like this could have
Oh, no.
missed their attention?
No, I just had that happen this last academy class. Like, you have no idea how much I babysit out there.
No, I'm not saying you missed anything, right? Like you're in Hawaii. I'm saying, were you surprised that they had missed this?
Oh, yeah, I had the academy staff just in this last academy class miss a big one.
So I'm talking about Deputy Chief Smathers and Deputy Chief Lowe. Were you surprised that they had terminated Josh Vega, right, for dishonesty at the academy in conjunction with something about shaving, but didn't have any idea that he had been made to shave his head in front of the cadet class?
I just didn't know what they knew. I mean, you have the text string right here. You see it's very to the point. I'm just saying, do this. I'm standing outside Walmart trying to get into an Uber. Like, I'm trying to maintain peace and trying to get information. To me, I don't know what they knew. You'd have to ask them what they knew. Because if you see, Corey said, this is the first I heard if the shaving in front of everyone. I already have the head shaving thing on my list.
Right. That is what she
So
said.
I don't know what she knew. You had to ask her.
You were worried about losing George Vega from the department over the termination of his son, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I'd be very disappointed if we lost George over, as we call them, unforced errors.
Right. But you were worried that he would leave the department, right, over the treatment of his son at the academy.
Oh
weren't
yeah,
you?
I was worried that he'd be upset and leave, and I value his input. He's done a lot for the department.
You were concerned he would be bitter and upset with the department.
Yeah, he could get bitter and upset. But I have always found that things get better through strong communication.
Yeah. Words of wisdom. You felt he would leave the department if he didn't know exactly what had happened with his son, correct?
I don't know if I felt he would leave, but there could be a possibility. I didn't want to lose him. I don't remember the exact wording we probably talked about in our depot, but I didn't want to lose him.
Do you not remember?
No, I don't remember the exact verbiage
Okay.
I used.
Would it refresh your recollection to take a look at that deposition transcript?
Yes.